Welcome back to the Neo Marketing Podcast. I'm Pritch Pritchard with Kyle Golding here today. We love ethics, so today we're going to talk about some of the ethical considerations in a crisis.
Love it. Welcome to the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of modern business communication.
Kyle, how are you today?
Fantastic. Good to see you, Pritch.
Well, better to be seen than viewed, I always say.
Absolutely.
Well, we love ethics.
Yeah.
We love to talk about ethics.
For sure.
Because it's really important and not a lot of people talk about it.
Right.
Today I want to talk a little bit about, ethical questions are almost always an important consideration following a crisis. In addition, crises create that need to balance competing values.
Right. Well, they say crisis reveals who you really are, right?
Right. Yeah.
So and it also creates an opportunity for you to come out better than you went going in. And that absolutely comes from having the highest standards when it comes to your ethical approach. Absolutely.
So today I want to talk about 3 ethical standards that often become prominent.
Okay.
And we'll peel down into those. One of them is a basic ethical concept of responsibility. And that refers to the fact that individuals and groups have a morally based obligation and duties to others and to larger ethical and moral codes. And I think that it's really important for organizations to understand that they have to ethically practice in the midst of a crisis or following a crisis. There is a need to accept responsibility for actions to help victims.
Yes.
To provide support and resources. Mm-hmm. And help alleviate and contain the harm.
For sure.
And not a lot of businesses realize that that's a critical part of being a community member in a crisis.
One of the biggest scenario differences between crisis management and day-to-day, of course, is the immediacy, the squeeze, right? The focus is on you. It has to happen now. It's outside the norm. And that's the place where people almost automatically want to go to the shortcut. But it's the worst thing they could do is go to the shortcut, to the ethical shortcut in a crisis. Because like we were saying earlier, you can make it worse, you can make it better, right?
Absolutely.
So, but that pressure tends to make people make decisions they wouldn't normally make.
Yeah, absolutely. And to dig down into that deeper, I go back to the Apology Impulse. That book has really impacted me in my thinking. And they would say the same thing, that you accept a responsibility when you have done something wrong, when you've harmed others.
For sure.
If you haven't done anything wrong, don't apologize.
That's true too, and that's where their point of the whole book, right, is too many people apologize when they don't need to.
When they don't need
and
to.
It sort of waters down other real apologies.
Oh, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
Apology doesn't mean what it meant 10 years ago,
Nope.
At least in the organizational setting. So with regard to responsibility and accountability, organizations are better able to generate productive crisis responses if they're willing to accept responsibility for any actions that may have caused the crisis.
Because accepting that responsibility creates authenticity.
Absolutely.
And how many times have we referenced authenticity on this program when it comes to marketing, communications of any sort, public relations, etc. If you're just saying something to say it, you're not being authentic.
Right.
You're more likely to give the spin, that 4-letter word you hate, right?
Jeez.
Right? But, the opposite of spin is accepting responsibility, your role in what's happening, what you'll do moving forward, and working with someone who's affected by it, etc.
Well, and if you think about it in terms of the end game and business objectives, it gives the organization an opportunity to demonstrate its values.
There you go.
Right? And it's
will they take the shortcut or not?
Exactly.
Yes.
We asked that question. So the second standard that comes up, ethical standard that comes up, is access to information, right?
Okay.
So a fundamental value of communication is free speech and expression and free flow of information. That comes directly out of the PRSA Code of Ethics. But it's an ethic that we have an ethical obligation as an organization and a member of the community to provide people with necessary information to make their own decisions.
Yes. We're not telling them what to think. We're giving them the information to make up their own mind.
Right. Significant choice is
for sure.
The academic term for that. But it starts with being open, with being truthful, with being honest. And any kind of deception really is, well, not only unethical, but absolutely unhelpful.
And I also know you and I have had conversations before too, because when it comes to information, transparency, it makes a lot of people nervous, right? We can't tell them everything. Well,
Right.
You should tell them as much as you possibly can, right?
Right.
There's still limits to transparency, and you can even go so far as to data dump so much information on
Right.
people that they miss the needle in the haystack, right?
That's that. That's that legal strategy of the data dump and discovery, right? And you can find it. It's in there someplace, but you have to find
Here's
it.
50 crates of paperwork.
Right.
Good luck, right?
Right.
You could do the same thing with your crisis communications with your public relations too. Is if you're too much information is actually dishonest in this process
Absolutely.
of being communicative.
Absolutely. And the transparency question, I use an example in my classes that a victim of a fire has died, all right?
Okay.
But you don't have to say he was burned beyond recognition.
Right.
Okay? So there are times when
Sensitivity and
Absolutely.
and that goes back to that's an ethical question and a moral question.
Yep.
That it's not a AP style question. It's the ethics behind, do we want to inflict more pain on the people associated with this, etc., or do we give them enough information that everyone feels that they understand it
Right.
without being pushed into emotional areas or things
Right.
like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the point here is that organizations that are open and honest before and during the crisis are better prepared to manage and recover from
absolutely. And it's mindset, it's ethics, it's having a moral compass, a true north that you don't have to ask, what are we going to do here? You know what to do, and if what you do is the right thing every time, you don't have to ask. You can just go and do it.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. And finally, an ethical standard that's important in many crisis situations and something we have never talked about, certainly not on this show.
Okay.
But it's the idea of humanism and care.
Sure.
Okay. Humanism is the philosophical standard and value system that emphasizes the uniqueness and inherent value of human beings.
Sure.
The care part of it concerns the duty all humans have. Specifically, it requires a supportive response to individuals who have suffered harm or need some help.
Right.
So those two things are really important. Certainly, public safety is the primary concern
Absolutely,
in a crisis,
right. Yeah.
especially natural disaster.
For sure.
Financial loss and reputation loss, they're secondary concerns. So the final point here is that organizations that make humanism and care priorities before a crisis are better prepared for enacting those values after the crisis.
Now I'm going to drive your point home by giving you a pure marketing approach to the same idea.
Okay.
So
Blow my socks off.
here we go. People like to do business with people that they like and trust.
Absolutely.
They like, trust, and know.
Right.
So
that's also a basic leadership principle, too.
Exactly, right? So if you have done all of your marketing work to establish your brand and establish your reputation as the people you do business with because you like, know, and trust us, whether it's something like us where we do work directly with the client, or it's literally knowing the CEO, Tim Cook at Apple, or it's somewhere in that process where you say, I know the people involved, I like them, I know where they're coming from, I trust them. And typically a lot of the reasons we like and trust people is based on our perception of their moral and ethical code, right?
Code. Absolutely.
So if you've done all this work in marketing for people to know, like, and trust you, and they want to be people and do business with people that run the businesses that they're trying to interact with. When it comes to a crisis, when it comes to accepting responsibility, and then the human factor, the idea of humanizing and being and doing the right moral and ethical thing should be perfectly in line with that same approach. It's beneficial and it's consistent.
Right. And it's something that has to be fundamentally the organizational at the heart of the organization's values.
You don't just make this up on the spot. It has to be ingrained in who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Yeah, Patagonia is a great example. They built their business model on giving back to the community.
Right.
So they've given some $870 million to environmental causes.
Right.
Ben and Jerry's goes even further.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's baked into who they are from the beginning.
Tom's shoes, etc.
Right, exactly.
There's a ton of people that approach that, but even pure business corporations that don't have those social models or anything of that nature, they have employees, they have customers, they exist in a community, they have influence in local, state, federal government, all of these things. And if they do things the right way and they bring a human approach, like you said, humanization, a human approach, not a dollars and cents approach, which is why that's the stereotype. People think of corporations as like dollars and cents, but it's run by people. The people at the top and the people at the entry level are all human beings working in the company. They want to feel good about working there. They want to feel good about buying or giving you, when you buy the product or service, you give them your money. You want to feel good about that. There's levels,
Exactly.
Social impact organizations have the highest level, and I want to buy some Toms because I want to do a good thing.
Right.
But every corporation has some level of dastardly through saintly, and somewhere in between, right?
Right, exactly.
You don't want to be at this end of the spectrum. You want to be at this end of the spectrum.
Exactly.
If it's in your process, it's in from the entry-level training through how the CEO handles themselves, then yes, doing the right thing is easy and no one has to ask.
Well, and I think public relations and marketing can be the driver of that. Should be.
Yes.
Even if your organization hasn't got that baked-in Patagonia, Ben and Jerry's kind of feel to it, you're right. Along the spectrum, you can still demonstrate these ethical opportunities.
Just ask questions. Are we real people doing real things for real people, or are we here for the money?
Right.
At the end of the day, if your boss says we're here for the money, get a better boss.
Get a better job.
That's right. If the CEO says, I don't care about humans, we're just making money, which will make you less money, because going back to the idea of people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? So if that's the attitude of the CEO, the C-suite, your upper management, all the way, if that's the attitude,
you're pushing a rock uphill.
You're in trouble. That business is in trouble anyways. It's going to fail. Get out now. Feel better about yourself. Don't feel dirty every night when you go home. It's great to make money.
Absolutely.
It's essential to make profit.
And it's important that we realize that organizations are in business to make money.
It's good to make money. It's essential to make profit. Profit is not a dirty word, folks. Profit is how a business maintains ups and downs, and the process of running a business means you need profit because you aren't always profitable.
Right.
Ebb
and if
flow,
you don't have profit, then you can't help the community.
You definitely can't help back. Yes, you can't give back if you're not profitable. That's why profit is not a dirty word. What you do with it, again, it's going to go back to the ingrained attitude that comes across everything. If the people at the top of the organization you work for want to keep every dime they make, and they're just there to make money, and they don't care what affects the human beings around them that work for them, etc., go get a better job.
Absolutely. So just
hold your own ethics.
Just hold your own ethics. Exactly. We know right from wrong.
And speaking of hold your own ethics, too, when these things come up, when they want to take the shortcut, when they don't want to do the human thing, you as a professional need to challenge that. Now, I'm not talking about someone who got a job there yesterday. I started yesterday, and I'm going to go challenge the CEO.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
But if you're in a decision-making process and you're in some point they say, we're not going to do this, which is the human condition, we are going to do this, which is pure profit, and it feels wrong to you, speak up. Hold yourself ethically accountable. And if you feel like you can't speak up and hold yourself ethically accountable for that job, go get a better job.
I tell my students two things. You have to be the no person.
Yes.
When you hear a bad idea, you have to have the guts to say, no, that's not going to translate.
It's good for everyone to say no when it's necessary, or challenge every idea. Yes.
The other piece that I tell them is, coming from the military background, you get one but, sir. Okay, so the boss says, we're doing this. You get one chance to say but.
Right.
And make your case again. After that, you got to go with what the boss has said and start looking for that new job.
That's right. If there's enough but sirs that don't go your way, not only is that company not ethically where you need to be, but they're also making bad business decisions.
They
and they're not valuing you as an employee. You're not going to grow in that position. You're not going to grow in your career. These are all good reasons to go find a better job.
I think we're trying to give you a theme here. I'm not sure.
Don't be afraid.
Start that way.
And it didn't actually. When you started this whole, I wasn't thinking about telling people not to go quit their job. I'm not saying that. But folks, you're going to have a career.
Yeah.
You're going to have jobs come and go. The days of starting someone where you're 20 and retiring at 65 this doesn't happen these days. Don't feel bad. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel like some sort of failure. If you need to leave a job or challenge enough where you get fired.
Right.
And I've been the guy to say no, sir, but enough times to be asked out the door. Trust me, it works out better for you.
Absolutely.
Your career, your personal development comes better. You feel better. You sleep better at night. All of that, and you can spend 25, 40 years, 100 years of building a solid reputation, and one bad decision can kill the whole damn thing. So when someone asks you to do these things that are going to reflect poorly on you as an individual, that's why you have to consider whether you want to work there or not. Because rebuilding a reputation personally, because I was just taking orders, people don't accept that idea.
Didn't work in My Lai and Vietnam War. It doesn't work today.
So that's why... we didn't know the second half of the conversation would become this, but that's why I'm so animated about this. Is people feel like, well, I don't want to lose a job. I don't want my career to look bad. I don't want all this on my resume.
Kids in college.
It's better to have 2 or 3 blips on your resume because you took a moral high ground. Now, at the same time, now balance, people. Everything has balance. You can't be. I made a decision and I don't like what the CEO did, and just because I don't like it, I'm not going to. Or I think they need to go way far off in a political direction or something like that. There are times where you can go, I've made my argument. We did different. We did something different. It's fine. We can keep moving on because I said my piece.
Right.
There gets to a point where it doesn't feel right, and when it doesn't feel right, listen to your gut. And that's what I'm talking about. So don't quit your job immediately because you get a no or the company isn't doing exactly what you wish out of them, but don't accept it for so long either that you can't get out of that hole.
Right.
There's balance that out.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to change jobs, change careers, do things in your life between the time you're 18 and 80. Ebb and flow comes and goes. It all happens to everyone. You're not going to put yourself in some scenario where no one's ever going to hire you again if you change jobs or do things based on what makes sense in an ethical sense.
Absolutely.
No one ever got mad about hiring someone with high ethics.
Right, exactly. So just kind of to bring it full circle, in the crisis, we need to think about these things.
For sure.
We need to think about accountability and responsibility. And when it's correct to do that, and despite what your lawyers might tell you, it's the right thing to do.
Take the human approach.
Take the human approach, the ethic of humanistic care, and then access to information, giving people significant choice, enough information that they can make their own decisions.
Right.
So there you go.
That's fantastic.
There we have it.
I think it's great. It's a follow-up to an ethical challenge we threw out a couple of weeks ago on the podcast.
Yep.
You guys responded really well on social media to the ethics question. That's why we're doing it again. Let us know what else. If you want to hear more about ethics, more about developing your career, personal ethics, or any other topic that we discuss here in the Neo Marketing Podcast, hit us up on social media. Send us an email. Let us know what you think. We'll cover anything we can. If you agree, disagree, let us know. We'll have that discussion too. Exactly. Because we're ethical like that. We're open to debate.
So don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Yes, sir.
Like us on social media and let us hear from you. I think that just about does it for today.
Yeah, that's a great conversation. Thank you very much for bringing up the topic and for giving very specific tips on how to manage the ideas behind it.
We need to maintain our ethics even in the middle of the storm.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
Mostly, it's most important in the middle of the storm.
In the middle of the storm, exactly. So until next time, ciao.
Good luck.